we have 4 people here in this house, so it may look like it's just us, but it's not just us.
It might look like it's just us.
And Diana's probably on her treadmill, so I think the recording doesn't even show. Oh, the recording might show Diana's face. I know that when we're live and people don't have their cameras on, it just looks like we're talking to ourselves.
Right.
Okay, we're not.
Wave, Amy.
I did.
That's perfect.
Oh,
2 times.
Oops.
No, dear. It's fine. So now we tried to do the upside and downside of level 3 last week, but then we got wonderfully interrupted by Dr. Caroline Leaf and our corporate book study. So now we're going to try to go at it again, but I can't remember totally where we left off. I don't think we were terribly far into, because I don't think we were at number 5 yet.
No, so I think actually we kind of talked about production as being level 3.
Yes.
And I thought we actually just started talking about number 1, where we were talking about leadership production gives credibility to the leader.
Mm.
So that whole thing about 2 types of people, those who produce results and those who give you reasons why they didn't.
Yes. Yes, I remember us talking about
So I think we talked about that a little bit.
We did.
The second one then is leadership production models and sets the standard for others visually. So that level 3 leaders are examples. So it's their example of being present, being engaged, being a part of the community.
Showing up,
Yeah.
in general.
Showing up in general, yeah. So I think that was the second one. And I think we had kind of spoken a little bit about that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the one about the salesman that couldn't spell. And that's the example that's just so fun on the salesman piece.
Yep. Right here.
Because he saw opportunities that others saw as barriers. And maybe that's the key part of it.
Yeah.
Not about the spelling, but about the fact that he saw the idea that there was nobody there as an opportunity. He should go there.
Yeah.
And other salesmen saw it as there's nobody there, so there's no market, so we shouldn't go there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So if you were wondering what we're talking about, that's page 138. If you need to orient yourself, that is where we are. You're welcome, Brenna. Brenna's like, okay, I'm good. Now I'm with you.
Yeah, like, I know the story, but where are we?
Yeah, it's hard to explain when you don't have your eyeballs on it because you need to see the spelling. It kind of helps. So yeah. And I like his comment. I had to learn this the hard way. When I came out of college, someone could have written a book about all the things I didn't know. But isn't that the perspective of leadership? Like, as you grow, I feel like you could add a whole new volume of, the things I thought I knew, but I really didn't. Or all the things that I have learned because of what I realized I didn't know. And now I know. But the only way you know them, and where all have we been talking about this week? You only learn things as you progress through the process of leadership. And I can say, or I could, and I did, I said it for years, just tell me what I need to know. Tell me what I need to know, and I'll just do them, right? I will learn it, I will practice it, but it doesn't happen that way. You need to be put into the position to actually put your boots on the ground in the trenches that give you the experience to learn it so that it actually holds. Because you can read the words on the page, but until you put it into practice, it doesn't matter.
There's another piece that I would like to mention, though, and this is a saying from way back, and it's not what you don't know that's the problem, because you want to learn what you don't know. It's what you know that ain't so. It's those ideas that you absolutely know are right or are the way it is. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, you created them to be a fact when they actually are not. Those are the biggest tripping stones.
Yeah, it's debunking our own myths that we've created as gospel truth in our own minds. Yeah. Okay. So, I like here what I'm really trying to communicate is that anyone who can produce has a chance to influence people at a higher level. That is the power of level 3 production. And I think what gives us so much hope going through this is that this is available to anybody as long as you do. Sorry, Cheryl's sitting way over there.
I know. It's like, where is she?
She's not even in the vision. I know, but it's for attendance, people. Like we need to see you for attendance. And Linda's coming too. That's awesome. And now I'm totally squirreled. The hope that it gives us is that as long as you go through the levels, right? You can start at a level 1, but as long as you go through the steps and you learn and you grow and you do the things, then you get to level 2. And then you spend time at level 2 and you learn and you grow and you do the things and you implement the steps and you become a better leader and you create relationships, and then you get to be on level 3 with other people. You'll still be at level 1 with your new friends, and then you'll have to get to level 2, and then you'll have to get, right? But everyone has the ability, as long as, he says, as anyone who can produce has the power to move on to level 3 production.
So I love the quote by
Hold on, I can't
Powell.
hear you.
We gotta do something with our volume.
Cheryl, volume. There we go. Kate, Brenna, go.
Okay, so at the top of 136, I love the quote by Colin Powell, who says, "You can issue all the memos and give all the motivational speeches you want, but if the rest of the people in your organization don't see you putting forth your very best effort every single day, they won't either." And I think this is one where as leaders, we can sort of be on a teeter-totter of how much, because you don't want to be disclosing everything you do as a leader, not because you're trying to hide things or keep them secret, but because there's lots of things that your team, staff, etc., just don't need to know. But how much of that do you talk about in terms of transparency to show them what you're doing, to show them what you're working on, to show them the productivity that you have? And I think that's the one for me with production, is trying to find that balance that works, partly because there are people who get overwhelmed by those who are highly productive and seem to do an awful lot. And you don't want to be this dump all the time of everything you're doing, but being able to still be transparent and to show the way in a really positive, motivating way.
I love that. I love that. I think that there's wisdom that we can all gain from this concept too. Because and I'm going to refer to all of us who are plugged in here as upper level leaders, because you guys have chosen to level up simply by learning. Simply by learning. We can look at our leaders or others around us, and we can make sometimes the wrong assumption that they're not doing enough. They're not doing enough, right? And we've been talking about this a lot, right? According to who? Like who sets the bar? Who decides what's enough? What's enough for me is going to be different than what's enough for Sherry. And the choices that I make for what I choose to do are going to be different between us because we have different leadership styles and all of those things. However, it will never do you wrong to assume that your leader is doing more than you ever anticipate that they are. The other thing that it reminds me of, Brenna, is in your line of work too, I'm sure that you don't want to show everybody all of the things that you do or all of the hours that you log or any of those things. And if you're in an attraction marketing situation like we are, where I'm saying to you, hey, come to my level where I'm at. You want to be here. This is going to be fun. But you're thinking as a level 1 leader or a pre-level 1 leader, right? If you're just brand new silver, and I'm going, you should come and do what I'm doing. It's good, right? And I show you everything I do in a day, and I make you go from the the floor, not even on the first rung of the ladder, to up here where I've done all of these steps, or where Sherry's done all of her steps, or where Brenna has done all of her steps. And I'm asking them to, in their conception, skip all of those steps and enjoy my life as an emerald with everything that it is, or Sherry, enjoy your life as a senior ruby with all of the expectations and things that need to be done. That is ridiculous. We would never show someone that we were trying to attract into a business like this all of the things that we would do, because it's not relevant to the person, most likely, and B, it could actually scare them. And it could complicate their journey, right? So if you've got a brand new person that's coming in, you want to show them what they need for what they're doing right now. And it is a balance, right? Like, yeah, we want to show up, we want to be present, we want to show you that we're invested, we want to show you that we're here, but we're not going to show you everything that we're doing. It just wouldn't be healthy.
I absolutely agree, because it would imply that we expect you to do all those things. And at each space that you're in, the things you're doing are going to look different. They're going to be right for you.
And you know, there's some piece to it too that needs to keep us accountable, because even though I don't want to show you everything that I do in a day, because it's just really not relevant, if you're spending, for example, we'll just use this example, and we've talked about this. If you're spending 5 hours a day looking for posts to use on Facebook, and maybe you're gonna change them so that they're yours or whatever, but if you spend 5 hours a day scrolling Facebook looking for posts, Brenna, does that sound attractive to you? If I said to you, you need to come, and in order to do this well, you need to spend that's what I do. Guys, this is a for instance. I do not do this. But this has happened in the past with people. I spend 5 hours a day. So if you really want to find that gold, those posts that are amazing, you need to spend like even 3 hours a day looking for posts. Well, no. Or scrolling to see who's doing what or what, like, that is not a part of the job, guys. That does not build your business. There's a lot of things that, right? So if we want to show people how to do the business, we also need to be protective of making sure our businesses are healthy and doing good things. Because if somebody says, well, how do you do what you do? And you're like, well, I actually spend 9 hours a day on Facebook. That's not duplicatable. And Alec Clark, who is our president and founder, would say, if you are working 40 hours a week in network marketing, you have missed the freedom bus.
That's great. I do want to hear what your peanut gallery is talking about.
I would love to hear that.
whispering.
I don't know if they're on topic or not.
Our peanut gallery.
Yes.
We were discussing that we needed to do some work on our businesses so that we were not spending
So many
40 hours a week looking for posts.
Were you really?
Yeah, I actually was thinking I spend way too much time.
There might be some conviction from the peanut gallery. I did not expect that. But I guess we speak the words that are given to us, right?
I guess so. While the peanut gallery is reflecting on
Collecting
that,
themselves.
let's move on to the third point, where we're talking about leadership production brings clarity and reality to the vision.
That was your clarity. That was us bringing clarity to your vision.
But the question here, and this is the question that really, really hit home with me, and it is, does your team know your why?
Do you know your why?
So first thing is, do you know your why? Like, why are you getting up in the morning? Why are you going to work? But beyond that, does your team know your why? I think Brenna wants to speak.
So this is a quote from Patrick Leononi that I just saw this morning. And it says, as a leader, you're probably not doing a good job unless your employees can do a good impression of you when you're not around. So have you repeated the vision so many times that when you're not around, they mimic you and preach it to each other?
That's so funny. I remember people doing impressions of Eva and Kristen, and it's so funny. So funny. While they were there, like it was entertainment. It was fantastic. I have a feeling that people could do impressions of me. I don't know what they would say, but I have a feeling that there would be impressions.
Oh, now I'm curious.
Simply of, yeah, I don't know. That's very, Brenna, I would love for you to send me that quote. That would be great. I would love to see that.
Oh, that is so
except I don't know if we share that, we might be inviting some, yeah.
Maybe it would invite some awareness. Like, I like that.
There we go. Yeah, level 3 leaders help their people to see what productivity looks like. And with each day of productivity, the team gets one step closer to making the vision a reality. So that goes into what Brenna was saying, is that if the team doesn't know what the vision is, how do they know where they're going, right? And it can be, you can have a broad why, right? But being clear about goal setting for the month, for the week, for the day. Genevieve was just talking about this last week. She's like, I don't get it when people wake up and they don't have goals for the day. And that used to irk me when Nolan would be like, so what are your goals for the day? I'm like, my eyes are barely open. What do you want from me? Right? But I do find that I'm the most productive when I go to sleep at night and I already have a clear vision of what my goals are going to be for the next day, right? So if you have a goal set for the month, for example, and you are going to sponsor 6 new ambassadors, but you don't have that broken down by week in activity, there is no way that that is a specific measurable goal, right? If it's just like, well, just let the chips fall where they may, we'll just, see how it all works out in the end, which can work for some people, but more often than not, if you are not clear about the vision and how you're going to get there, it's not going to be achieved as easily.
I actually really like the example in this section, and this is page 140, but it's when George Washington came up to that group of soldiers who were trying to lift a beam, and they couldn't quite get it lifted. And the corporal was overseeing, it's like, this is the vision. And, and he kept shouting words of encouragement and you can do this and all of this thing. And after a while, Washington said, well, why don't you help? The corporal said, do you know I'm the corporal? And Washington just said, I beg your pardon, Mr. Corporal, I did. And he got off his horse and he went to work with the soldiers until the beam was in place. And then he said, if you should need help again, call on Washington, your commander-in-chief. I will come.
Fantastic.
It's that I am willing to actually get down into the dirt, into the middle of it, and help you make it happen.
I really appreciated Diana this week and her display of this very thing. She decided of her own volition that she was going to do a silent messenger chat. Yeah. And not only did she just organize it for her sidelines and her downline, but she had 7, I believe it was 7 individually invited people attend the messenger chat, and she already signed up 1. And that was from, I think, 3 days ago. So way to go. That is lifting the beam.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Absolutely. So the fourth one is leadership production solves a multitude of problems. And I know that, I know it was Kristen, or I think it's Kristen, or no, it's not Kristen. It's
Sonia.
Maybe it's Judith. Anyway, always says, the cure for everything is activity. Just get to work.
That's the story of how when Michelle Thomas lost that entire leg, that was all fraudulent.
Oh.
where she was in tears. We've talked about this every now and again, but there was somebody on, so Michelle Thomas is a diamond, her husband is an emerald. I think this was back when she was an emerald. And she had lost like a ruby leg because somebody had been sponsoring a ton of people, but they had been taking social insurance numbers from homeless people and creating accounts and signing up for credit cards, and like they basically created an entire fraudulent team underneath her, and they found this out, and it was just a disaster. So if you ever wonder why we have so many things in place for fraud, this is one of those examples as to why we do. And anytime anything gets flagged by fraud, I do think, gee, I'm really glad that's here, because there is a reason. There is a reason. But she was devastated. Like a Ruby team is big. That's 500 points. That's a lot of people. And she went to Sonia, who's her upline. She was like, what do I do? And she was like, go sponsor 10 people, because the cure for anything is action. And she did, and she's a diamond.
I think that's wonderful, but that leads us back to what is production in Plexus? Because we were talking about if the only mark of production is signing up people, there's a disconnect. We know
It's
people who sign up fabulous, amazing, but they're not progressing in their leadership, in their rank, in their paycheck even.
So
We
interesting.
know people who are doing all this stuff and not signing anybody up, and are still the same.
It's also mindset too, because, and I won't say the name of the diamond, but Eva was speaking with somebody who is very well known in Plexus and like has been well known forever and ever and ever and ever. And Eva had made the comment about long-term Plexus users. And this person at the time sponsored a ton of people, lots and lots. And she looked at her like she had three heads, and she was like, what do you mean long-term Plexus users? Well, that wasn't this person's deal. At that time, I think that this person was bringing people on. They were staying for a short amount of time, either getting a lot of weight loss or whatever, and then leaving, right? So there was a lot of revolving door. We have a different focus on our team, and that's why we've always said this, even before we brought on so many products. We have a focus of root healing. You are not just here for a flash in the pan. You are here for root healing. So our goal is to get you to stay for your health, but also for our businesses.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not just a, hey, come in, try the product. Oh, that's nice. You lost 3 pounds. Great. On your way. Right? So to answer Amy's question, it's a holistic approach. It's not just a one-sided thing. It's kind of like, your three-legged table, like your table is not as sturdy if you've only got 3 legs. You're much more sturdy with 4, or your table isn't sturdy with 2 or 1. That wouldn't be a very good table unless it was a pedestal table, and then I digress. But anyway, the whole point of this is you can sponsor well, which is great, but that's not necessarily production, because you are being productive. You get the immediate payoff. I feel like we're sitting in church and the pastor's turning around to be like, shh.
And the pew behind.
Oh dear. Maybe we should have been in separate rooms with different computers. You can bring people on. And I think that we at different points in our team's journey, we have had these focuses where it's like, oh, I just need to get 10 more people. I'm going to do it myself. That's easy to control, right? I don't have to rely on my level ones to go out and find 2 people each. I'm going to go out and find them, right? But that's not production either.
Well, I think this is actually really important. Mom and I have talked about this in the past of when do you make that transition? Because when you have a junior person come onto a team and they're like, I don't want to actually do the sharing. I don't want to actually do the sponsoring. I'm just going to build an amazing team and they'll do all that for me because I'm not comfortable doing that, but I'm going to be this awesome leader. Well, you want to know what? If you don't go out and get your level ones, you're going nowhere fast. And this is one that I actually see in business hiring staff who are coming right out of university, who they don't want to actually do the work. They don't want to actually learn how to do the job. They just want to delegate to everybody else. And I think it's really important when we think about production in terms of being the example, and the fact that you actually, as a leader at every level, all the way up to diamond, have to be able to model, how do you share? How do you have the conversations? How do you answer the questions? How do you actually do the job and be able to relate with those people on the ground? While also, yes, you're going to be doing a lot of leadership and team building at that kind of a level, but it's going to be a long, long time before that person who joins is then building up and doing that. And I think there can be a temptation of, I've gotten to a certain level, I'm now done with all of these signups and level ones, and I'm just going to move on to building my team, and I'm going to do the leadership and all this fun growth stuff, so that we don't have to do the hard work of having those difficult conversations that got us to where we are. And there actually has to be a balance of, you continue to do some of that stuff. You still have to continue to model while also growing your leadership skills and the team building aspect.
Emily Roberts sponsored 20 people already this month. She's earned 3 remarkables.
You can only earn one. So just
Well,
saying.
Actually, no, that's not true, because
You've
she's
got-
re-entry.
No, you can only earn one-on-one account.
Yeah.
One-on-one account.
So there's her account, there's Scott's account, and there's whatever.
Yeah,
But they're
so 3
building.
accounts.
So they're 3 accounts, but still 20 people.
But I guess, and I love this example in the book at the bottom of this page, and it talks about the chicken or egg situation. And because we just happen to be on this organic egg laying operation, I think it's a perfect example, because you don't have chickens unless you have eggs, but you don't have eggs unless you have chickens. And you don't have production unless you're both recruiting and leading. And one does not work without the other.
It is also embarrassing, and I'll say that this has happened to me before, or it's happened to me, and I've also witnessed it too, where if you don't recruit, you don't know the glitches or the intricacies or whatever. And then all of a sudden you have to ask a question that really shows that you haven't signed somebody up in a while. And it's like, oh shoot, well now my backside is showing a little bit. And here's the thing, you guys, everyone goes through seasons. You can be in a season where you are replenishing your funnel, you know, whatever. But that doesn't need to be a lengthy season. That can be a short season. I don't know how this fits in, but I feel like it's, yeah, I just want to speak to this for a second. We've been watching this show on Netflix. Nolan and I watch TV at night, and it's called Versailles. And so it's all about the Sun King, Louis XIV. And he's the one that turned Versailles from a hunting lodge, which I tell you, it is a darn nice hunting lodge, into the palace that we have today, that still stands today. And he brought in the idea of the court living in Versailles, and all of the nobles and whatever else. And in this show, all of a sudden and he has always been this, I am placed by God, right? He has chosen me to be the king. This is who I am. And he leads thus ways. Like, he is absolutely sure of who he is, knows his value, and he's a very strong leader. Then there comes up the question of who his father actually is. And this is not necessarily historical. In the show, the man in the iron mask appears, and it ends up being that the king and the queen, his mother and father, could not have children. They had so many pregnancies that ended up in miscarriage, that the wife decided, however that worked, to find someone close to the king and have a baby with him, or have babies with him, so that the lineage would continue and nobody ever talked about it. But what this does to the character in the show is it completely rocks who he is. And you see the character shift in his ability to lead, because now he doesn't think that he was chosen by God to lead. He doesn't think, simply because the question of who his birth father was changes absolutely everything. And it's such an interesting leadership shift. So I'm sitting back there and I'm watching this. I'm like, oh, this is being played so brilliantly, because of course it would call into question everything that you know. And this is really relevant to leadership. And it's also really relevant to us as, I'm going to use the term influencers, because we are all influencers over our own circle of influence, right? And the last 2 years have done a little bit of a number on some of our ideals and who we are and who we thought we were and who we thought our friends were and who our circle is and where our support comes from and what does that even look like anymore and all of those things, right? It does not take a whole lot to all of a sudden bump you sort of off the grid a little bit, and then all of a sudden, well, I'm not connecting with people the same because I don't feel aligned with myself, and I can't really post because I don't know what to say and I don't have anything to share, and I've got to spend 4 hours a day looking for posts because I don't feel like it's coming truly from inside me, because who am I really and what am I doing here, and am I sure that I really want to be doing? Guys, if you have ever felt that way, you are not the only person in the world to feel that, and it's okay. It's okay to question. And if that means that it bumps your sponsoring off for a month, or it means that it has changed the way that you speak to people, or all of those things, we're just going to take a minute. It's fine. But you need to find a way to move past that. So, yes, back to their whole spending however many hours a day looking for a post. If you do not feel in alignment with your purpose or your vision, like what Brenna was talking about, you won't be as easily able to communicate to people, to lead people, to be productive, to slip into that level 3 leadership of production. Yeah. So leadership does solve a multitude of problems, but sometimes it creates them in your own mind. But it's usually in your own mind.
It's usually in the wrong mind.
In the wrong mind, in your own mind.
In your own mind.
That may not be the wrong mind, I don't
No.
think.
We already decided today that Sherry's right. She's still right. She was sitting on Amy's right, so I just said she was right, and now she's sitting on my right, so she's
Right.
right. She's still right. Always right.
And in that vein, we're going to move forward.
Yes.
Page 142, number 5.
Momentum.
Leadership production creates momentum. And this is, we all love the idea of momentum. But on the bottom of page 143, he says, the vast majority of people don't start anything, nor do they stop anything. They go along for the ride. If momentum's moving, they move with it. If it is stopped, so do they. Their productivity and effectiveness are based almost entirely on what others do to make things happen in the organization. For that reason, they need good leaders who produce and create a productive environment. So that's one of the reasons that I define morale as faith in the leader. So when someone in the organization has that energy to create something, whatever it is, an event, a chat, a silent chat,
An in-home hangout with your Plexus people.
sisters, that is creating momentum. That is leadership. That is a production level leader activity.
Yeah.
So on the next page, 144, it talks about momentum breakers. The second type of person actually hurts morale and momentum in an organization. Not only do they not produce, but they prevent others from producing. These types of people cause problems, and whether intentionally or not, hurt the organization. They're the voice that says, oh, that won't work. Oh, I've tried that before. Oh, I can't do that. Nobody heard me. Nobody answered. Nobody did this. I didn't hear. Nobody told me that was happening. Why didn't I know? That's the kind of voice that is a momentum breaker voice.
And I think that if this resonates with anyone, and I mean, you know what, that's been my voice sometimes too. I will take totally responsibility. I have been that voice at times. I think a lot of it is we seriously negate our own influence because we figure, oh, nobody listens to me anyway. It doesn't matter. I can say this. No. The first thing is you're leading yourself. So if you say it out loud, you are affirming it to be true. And then people around you will hear it. And even if they don't believe it, it sows a seed of doubt in your mind. Never be in a place, especially in an organization like this, where someone is allowed to sow seeds of doubt in your garden. If you can at all help it. If you're related to them, I'm so sorry. But if it is a sideline or an upline or a downline, you need to protect your mental farm at all costs. I do love this. The Momentum Makers quote here by Paul Bear Bryant. Don't worry about making friends. Don't worry about making enemies. Worry about winning, because if you win, your enemies can't hurt you. And if you lose, your friends can't stand you.
Yes, I did. I said, Cheryl, you're not just an egg farmer, you're a mind farmer.
I like it. So tell us more.
I'm the peanut gallery. I don't have to answer more than that. Peanut gallery back here. Agreed.
That's just a
I'm
thought,
not
Amy.
adding seeds
It's
of doubt.
just a
We're adding seeds of confirmation. We're underseeding and fertilizing.
Oh, fertilizing, all right. I agree with the fertilizing. There's something that's happening back there. Okay.
I have a fertilizing story, but it's much too long for this particular moment.
Okay. Leadership production is the foundation of team building. Winners attract people, some good, some bad, some average. The key to building a winning team is recognizing, selecting, and retaining the best people from the ones you attract. And if you want to attract the best people, you need to be attractive. And that's not like you need to be attractive like Sherry is attractive. You need to you need to be, oh, Linda left and came back. You need to be attracting the right people. Like, you can't be talking garbage all the time, because that's not going to be the people you want to attract. If you are complaining all the time, I feel like we don't have this problem anymore. But I remember, like, back in the beginning when people used to just go and vent on social media all the time. Not saying that people don't do that. I just feel like we don't attract that anymore. There were people that we were attracting that literally all they did was they vented on social media all the time. And you were like, okay, see, you got to go back and clean that up a little bit. Like, you just have to. It's not pretty. We don't want you to attract the people that are interested in your drama. We want less drama. Am I the drama? Am I the drama? If you feel like you have drama, it might be you.
Yeah, well, we may have drama. We're going to move on to the downside of production. And one of the things is the weight of leadership just got heavier. So page 146, he talks about being productive can make you think you're a leader when you're not. So leadership is not only about production. And this is something interesting. On page 147, he said, organizations all over the world make the mistake of putting high producers into leadership positions only to watch them fail. I've done that. I've seen someone make things happen. I thought, wow, they're going to be a fantastic leader, only to have that person continue to make things happen for himself, but ignore and demoralize his team. That's not leadership. It's a qualifier of being a leader to be able to produce, but it's not the only qualification. It's like the one-legged stool. It's one leg, but it's not enough to have a stable organization. Yes, Amy.
It's like the salesman that gets promoted to sales manager, who continues to sell cars and continues to do a great job for the company, but no growth on the rest of the team that he's supposed to be leading and demonstrating. And he's actually shown them what he's doing because he's very transparent, but he's not providing them with any support, any growth, any you do it and I'll be here to support your sale.
Not actually equipping. Brenna?
No, I was just gonna comment on that equipping piece of it's very different being able to do it yourself and model it, to turn around and actually train and equip someone to do it for themselves, or to not simply tell people how to think, but teach people.
I think that's perfect. And then the whole example is right here. I asked, what do I say? Janelle's like, just this. I'm like, well, that sounded really good. Can you just like write that down for me? She can do it. She can model it. But I need equipping.
And then voice to text comes in and it's so great. Because I can't write that. I can't write that quite as fast. Yeah.
The second one here is productive leaders feel a heavy weight of responsibility for results. I guess we could think about politicians that don't produce for their constituency just plain don't get reelected.
Do we really want to go there?
Maybe we should move on.
I feel
from
like
the
that's
political one.
not accurate at this point in time. It should be. We talk about a utopic society. Oh dear.
But leaders who produce are rewarded.
Over on 148 under number 2, it says, honestly, many leaders who reach level 3 tire of leading because of the weight of responsibility they feel. We've got Sherry, you're on the wrong side.
She's right.
She is right. We've decided there is no test that can prove that she's other than right. Yeah, most leaders experience days when they wish no one was watching their performance, looking to them for direction, or wanting them to make something happen. However, effective leaders understand that the cost of leadership is carrying the responsibility of their team's success on their shoulders. That's the weight every leader feels starting on level 3. You will have to decide whether you're willing to carry it. I'm just going to leave that right there.
But I think that's true because I think
it's
we
true.
do feel a heavier weight. And there was a time when I actually didn't want a heavier weight. And therefore, I didn't want to move forward. I didn't want more people to look after. I could only have so many friends because I couldn't be a good friend to more people. And I know there's people that can't even imagine that concept. It's a way of thinking.
It is a way of thinking, for sure.
And I've changed the mindset to realize, well, of course I can help more people by having more people help me help more people.
That's the piece de résistance.
Yeah.
I'm not French. It's just not a thing. And I think too, our perception of what that looks like changes as our ability to lead grows. Because the way you lead a team when you have a smaller team is very different than when you lead a bigger team and a bigger team and a bigger team. And then you get to the point where, and I don't think the ladies that are on the call, these guys might, have hit this point yet, but I remember the day that I looked at, because we were still getting emails on, well, this was still in my level 1 to 4. And I looked at the email and I was like, I have no idea who that is that sponsored that person. Not only do I not know who the person is who's coming in, I don't even know who the person is who sponsored that. And I remember that day and I was like, wow, I never thought I was going to get to that day. I thought I would always know everything that was going on my team. I thought I would always know the people that were working to sponsor and whatever. And it's a weird loss of control because it is, but it's a great gift because then you realize that people are duplicating without your intervention. And it's wonderful. It's scary because you have to let go, but yeah. Production leadership requires making difficult decisions. Yes. Yes, it does. Be willing to make decisions. That's the most important quality in a good leader. I used to hate conflict. I can't say I love it now, but I understand the importance of it for going forward. And with conflict creates, like, there are difficult decisions that need to be made and all of those things. But without conflict, you don't learn lessons. So if you were shy about conflict, realize that it's a gift. And that was one thing that they said to us at Leaders Retreat, was they said, leadership is a gift. You are not automatically a leader. It is something that you have earned, and it's something to steward well. So see the ability to lead people as a gift to you and then serve.
I like when he talks about making difficult decisions. He says, most of the decisions you make are related to yourself. They're the hardest ones.
That's true.
He says, I found that about 25% of the decisions I make on level 3 relate to my team. The rest are personal ones that require change, honesty, and self-discipline. As American writer Mark Twain said, to do right is wonderful. To teach others to do right is even more wonderful and so much easier.
It's true.
Yeah. And if you're not willing to make the difficult decisions, those 75% that relate to yourself, if you're not ready, then it's just an indicator of where you are in your process. Doesn't make it good, doesn't make it bad. It just means it's where you're at on your learning journey.
Yeah. And again, there will be ebbs and flows in your leadership, even your leadership to yourself. There will be times that, at this point in time, you may not be able to even conceptualize getting to this point. If you continue on the journey and you have committed yourself to it, you will get there. Likewise, you may think there's no way that I would ever not want to, be the biggest producer in your organization, or, there's ebbs and flows in absolutely everything. It's just like growth isn't linear. It's like this, right? And there are times when in leadership, there's more of your time that's required for making decisions, making hard decisions, dealing with conflict and whatever. And that takes time, which doesn't include hosting and recruiting and whatever else. You end up leading in other capacities and not things that necessarily everybody sees, because there's conflict. There will be conflict in your organizations that not the world won't see. And you'll spend time and effort and energy dealing with those things the right way, because I know you all will strive to do that, and you'll make mistakes too, totally good. But that's not one of those things like what we were talking about before. Be like, you don't hop into your chat and be like, y'all, I just spent 3 hours dealing with conflict today, just so you know. Yeah, done. Check that box off on the IPA sheet. You don't go into your chats and tell your people this, right?
But that's a piece that should be talked about.
At a certain level of leadership. I'm not going to hop into the silver chat and be like, y'all, Linda was a big pain in the butt today.
Oh,
We talked for hours. I think she finally has me straightened out. Right? Like, well, maybe I would say that.
but like that, I've had my conflicts for the day. It doesn't have to be personal. It doesn't have to be relationship. It doesn't have to be business. I mean, you ever called the government offices?
No, thank you. I don't want to.
I've had my conflict for the day. I've tested my patience for today. I'm good to go.
Okay, here's a really good tangible Plexus particular example of this. Okay, we had somebody leave our organization early on who had a huge platform and was involved in so many groups, had done so many lives, but they were going to another company and they were kind of trashing what we were doing, and it wasn't fun and it wasn't good. So a core group of leaders, probably you, and like a bunch of us, literally took hours dissecting this person out of the groups, because what we didn't want was, we didn't want somebody to look up this person's story and then go to try to find them on Facebook to find that they were now slamming the company, which was ridiculous. If they were, whatever, and no longer representing Plexus. Was this productive? Yes, it was necessary action, but we didn't go and say, hey, we just spent 4 hours. We just spent 4 hours changing content and removing somebody and whatever. That's one of those things that happens in higher level leadership that actually has to be done, that doesn't get talked about at the lower levels, because again, not everybody needs to know all of the things. But that's something that probably most people don't realize even has to be done, is if somebody is going to hurt. I don't want somebody who leaves to hurt Sherry's business or Amy's business or Diana's business or Linda's business or Cheryl's business. So we try to safeguard things and that kind of thing. But it's something that you do in leadership that just, you don't know that happens and that you have to do.
I think this is actually a really interesting conversation about what are the difficult decisions that leadership asks of us, and not necessarily even on a team basis, but on a personal basis. And so I'd like to hear from the others that are here, if you can think of a difficult decision that leadership has asked of you, or your business has asked of you.
Yeah, because we often talk about the positive things that are asked. Peanut gallery.
Can you think of something that we can expand on the story?
Okay, so I'll give an example that I'm thinking of, and a difficult decision. So in terms of my family or relationships, I try to keep evenings for my husband, mornings for my husband. We don't see each other all day. We sleep all night, so there's not that many hours. So some of the more challenging personal decisions for me are to decide which of those hours I am willing to exchange for my Plexus business or my personal growth, and what that looks like, and how I can actually communicate that in a way that is aligned with my values. So for me, that's a very internal, difficult decision sometimes about how I'm allocating the time so that it is right for me. Does it always work? No, it does not always work. And there's trade-offs, and there's the price to pay, and there's all the laws of leadership that actually come into play in that process. Another example I could give is letting go of things that I thought were right. And it's maybe easier for me to describe that in terms of, what I was taught, what I learned in university that was right. And particularly on the nutrition field. And having to now rethink those things that I believed. Like, here's just a simple example. You must eat breakfast. Your kids have to have breakfast before they leave for school. I've had to relearn that belief and make that difficult decision to realize it's not right for everybody. I think we're like 2 minutes. So does anyone else have one?
I was just going to say going to bed with your husband, but we're not going to go.
Oh,
We're not
whoa,
gonna go
that's a big one.
This is a new challenge that has come up. I don't think we're ready to talk about that.
Yeah, when the hubby goes to bed, you go to bed. Oh,
No, some of us purposely decide that's not a good time to go to bed. We need a 1 hour refrain from
Debrief.
time. Either he's there or I'm there, but there's an hour difference.
yeah. We are still working on difficult decisions. You can tell.
And maybe the other piece of that is that what is working now may not work in a year or two.
Yeah.
And that we need to revisit some of those choices and decisions. And what does that look like?
I think Brenna had a comment.
I've forgotten it. I think I'm done.
I think I'm done. So I want us to kind of end on this number 4, production leadership demands continual attention to level 2. There's a real temptation for leaders on the production level to neglect relationships in pursuit of achieving a good bottom line result. However, if leaders do that for an extended period of time, they burn their relationships with their people and they will eventually find themselves back on level 1. Don't fall into the trap. Keep developing the relationships and caring for them as you produce results. So that would be, I have written down here, continuous connecting with levels 1 and 2, like in your organization, and 3s and 4s,
5s and 6s.
7s.
7s and 8s.
Some of us require you to communicate with us.
Require, demand.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I kidnapped her for the day. I mean, what else do you say at that point?
Thank you. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. Next week, we are on best behaviors of level 3 and moving up to level 4. Is that what we're? Laws of leadership at the production.
on level 3. Yeah, beliefs.
So are we all the way through page 178?
Yes, I believe we're finishing level 3 next week.
Wonderful. All right. Thanks so much for being here. Have a great Saturday. Bye.
See you soon, Linda.